Good evening and welcome to the very first Flower Lounge Live, brought to you by the Floristry Trade Club in association with Florist Trade Magazine, which is me. I'm Caroline Marshall-Foster. I own Florist Trade Magazine and Good Florist Guide, and I've worked in this industry for over 40 years. Yes, I did start young. But you know what? I love it as much as I ever did, and if I'm honest, probably a teensy-weensy bit more. Which is why tonight is going to be such fun. I get to talk with people who share that love and the passion, but who also have oodles of fabulous advice to share with you, the viewers. And tonight there's over 200 of you, so I have to say thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Now, we've already had some questions submitted from the email we sent out. And there is an option to put your own questions in the live feed underneath the screen. But if you do want to ask a question online, you will have to be logged into YouTube. And that's easy, there's a button up there. If we don't get to them, please don't worry. We're all on standby to look at them, answer them, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. However, we do only have an hour, so we will have to rattle through them. But as I say, we will get back to you if we miss anything. So that's the hellos and the housekeeping bit out of the way. Now, let's meet the panel. And they are fab, because I've spent the afternoon with them. I'm going to start with the ladies. Kate Hester-Lock.
Good evening.
She's one of the florists that I follow on Facebook. I mean, I actually follow thousands. That's not to make you feel...
Not just me.
Not just me. It's not just you. But she is one that I follow. And a lot of it is because she does such amazing videos. Her social media is awesome. And I really admire her style. She opened Grand Flowers in Eastbourne 30 years ago, celebrated her 30th birthday in April, and has seen more than her fair share of recessions. But not only do other florists speak incredibly highly of her, she's proved that dealing with change is totally doable, and if you get it right, it can actually be exceedingly successful. Next up is Dominic Hughes, and Dom has a shop in Kew. He started life as a John Lewis management trainee. But whilst he loved retail and thought that was really cool, he wanted more creativity and discovered floristry. So he went to work for a florist as a junior. 14 years later, he bought the shop and has just recently relocated to a larger but cheaper shop in Kew and is doing better than ever and has the most awesome telephone skills I have seen. I have spent the afternoon in your shop yesterday, and it was just amazing watching him with his headset and how he dealt with customers. I can see a whole other session coming on. It was great. We're all going to have to go to the shop tomorrow morning. And then finally, Gareth Davies, who, interestingly, actually started life in the retail hospitality industry, but after years of running one of the biggest pizza companies, decided to change career and bought 2 florist shops in Oxford. So he's gone from pizzas to posies. But if you think that's mad, he didn't just buy 2 florist shops without being a florist. He did it just before the COVID 2020 shutdown. So he's had an interesting journey. He totally admits that he isn't a florist, but his business-focused, outside perspective means that he does see things differently, as you've proved this afternoon. And having had time to talk to him, I know he's got some really cool ideas to share. So welcome to you all. Thank you for accepting my invitation.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
It was, I know, a bit out of the blue, but what the heck? We've had such fun so far. We've talked about a lot of things. But perhaps the best place to start, and I'm going to start with you, Kate.
Okay, first up.
First up?
Yep.
What do you think makes a great florist, one that stands out from the crowd?
Oh, okay. We always think we do stand out from the crowd, and I think customer service for us is absolutely key. Customer comes first, and I know my colleagues totally agree with this. very customer focused. Also, knowledge, know your product, know what your market is, aim for your market. You know, you can't please everybody all the time. You just got to accept that. So you just aim for your market. Keen buying. You need to know how to buy. You need to know what to buy. You need to know how to mark up. Basically, it's knowledge. You need to know what you're doing. You know, you've got to do your research. Going forward, I think we all need to share the knowledge, which is what this tonight is about, isn't it?
We've learned so much already.
From each other. We've just all sat here and we just had a great time, haven't we?
You guys have never met before.
Never met.
And yet you've spent the whole time since 3:30 when we all got together, in theory for sound checks. All you've done is gab.
Well, we're all on the
so
same
much to
page
say.
though, aren't
Yes.
we? We're all doing things slightly
I think the
differently.
fundamentals, as you pointed out, are paramount.
Yes.
And I think everything else goes down to what you put in your personality.
Yeah, people are buying from people, and we've
Yeah.
said that
Yes.
Yeah.
all
We're
along
going to
this
cover
afternoon.
people a bit later on, but
Okay.
I think the knowledge base. I mean, how do you react when? Because you were saying that in Eastbourne you've got a lot of people setting up who perhaps have never run shops or
Yep.
whatever. What does a sort of great florist have as an advantage? How long did it take you, do you think, before you could honestly say you were a great florist?
Immediately.
Very good answer.
We had, in the early days, we strove really hard to stand out from other people. We would always have something different in the shop, even though we weren't expecting to sell it. We always stood head and shoulders above everybody else. We never compromised on our quality. Again, customer service, people loved coming in, and the experience as well. People love coming into a really good retail environment where you're welcomed, people interact with you. I think probably it took us maybe about a year, I suppose, to really get our feet under the table in the area, but we worked really hard to do that.
We're
Really
going to talk
hard.
about marketing, but I mean, you've always been really strong on it.
Yeah.
Gareth, from your experience, you're relatively new to the flower industry, not business, obviously. What do you think makes a great florist?
So, well, I guess the same analogy. So, people are buying an experience or a service from any organisation they use, and being a florist is about exceeding customers' expectations in whatever theatre that you're in. So, we get to share some of the most important moments in customers' lives, whether that's weddings or sadly in celebrating a life that's been lost, and we get the opportunity to delight people in that space. So if we take that responsibility on seriously and we say, we're going to own the responsibility of creating something that people will marvel at and will add to their experience in this moment, then that's a great space to start from, and something that the team that work with me are really proud of, and you can own that. So being a great florist is the same as most things in life, which is commit yourself to it and be proud of what you're delivering for other people. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Dom, you're shaking,
Well,
you're nodding your head.
I am.
Got anything to
I
add
agree
to
with my
that?
colleagues so much, but I particularly love it when you see a beautiful shop, a beautiful flower shop in the high road. It's such a homing, isn't it? People love it. And I don't know, you guys probably experience this. So many people come into the shop and say, what a lovely smell in here.
Yeah.
They're attracted to it. So it creates a lot. So therefore, the follow-on is about you. So you've created this beautiful environment, lovely flowers, a beautiful display, everything's fresh. You get up early. You do all of these things to make sure it's really right for the customer. And then they have an experience. They come in and they choose and they select, and you're there to help them and advise them, and that goes with your experience. And you have to listen to them, ask them what they want, what they really want.
I was about to burst.
I know,
So
I
was
just
I.
almost...
I really had to stop myself. Don't do it.
Oh, no.
I'd like to think I was. I'm
See that?
definitely all
Making up-
thinking about
make-
it. weren't we?
Oh no, make up the jokes I didn't realise.
Sorry. Come on, back to
And as Gareth expressed so nicely about the funerals, people come in and they're nervous. And I remember in the beginning I was nervous, and I found it really hard asking, may I take the name of the deceased? But once you get over that and you help them with the process, it's, they really enjoy it, and it helps them.
Yeah.
And I think also being able to use your own experiences. I mean, I found it, and when I first started retailing, I'd never lost anybody. I'd never actually organised a funeral myself, but as you have to do it yourself, I could relate to it and sympathise, and you know, and then obviously doing weddings and things. So using your own life experiences to say, I understand where you're coming from, I get you. And always having a box of tissues.
Tea
for
goes,
you
kettle
as-
goes on.
Well, again, that comes down to listening to them as well,
Yeah.
like you said, and you know, just listening to what the customer wants
give
and
them a
delivering that. And
I think, Gareth, you're saying that we deal with every occasion. I mean, we at the magazine say flowers are the only thing that can be used on any occasion for any purpose. You can't walk down the aisle with a bottle of wine. You have to have flowers. Well, I mean, maybe
You might need it.
yeah, well, we won't go there. But it's more that our product, more than anything, touches people in a way that is unique. But you have to know it. You can't just stick a bunch of flowers and say, I'm a florist. You've got to have all those elements. Is there anything that makes you squirm when you see florists?
Plastic.
straight off the bat, that was, wasn't it?
You know, the plastic trays, the plastic vases. You know.
What you mean on the outside
Yeah,
displays?
yeah.
Yes, I loathe that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love the
teach-
wood and the metal, and you know, mixing in all the elements of the, you know, earthy elements to make, you know, promote the flowers, to
Yeah.
make them stand out. You know,
Because I've
Either you're
seen
gonna-
both your outside displays. I haven't seen yours, but I mean, you put a lot of effort into
Yeah,
your outside
because that's the
display.
attraction, isn't it? You know, there's an awning to, you know, shade the plants, shade the inside, stop the, you know, the sun coming in, and it just it's
It's
such
setting
a
up your shop every day,
Yeah,
isn't it? And
I
every
spent
day's different.
I get in early to do that, to get everything set up, everything good, sweep up, you know, make it look
it's got
beautiful.
to be perfect.
Yeah.
I bet you
think-
can only do it right. I can
Yes.
only do it right. Sorry,
'Cause
team.
you actually, you have AstroTurf outside your shop.
I do. Do you
how
know?
cool is that?
It's so
I know.
cool.
Well, do you know? I was actually
I wanted an AstroTurf fan once.
I was convinced to do it. I was convinced to do it by a friend when I moved into Kew. And at first, when he suggested it, I thought, oh, gosh, you know, I can't do that. I can't do that. He said, have you seen the AstroTurf these days? It's really good. Then he took me around to a friend's house, and she lives in Kew, and she had it in her garden, and it looks so impressive. And I actually think it does give us a sort of a bit of a sort of, you know, a real focal point. It really brings everything together. The awning's the same width, etc. And it really works. And it looks nice. It looks like our patch.
Yes.
I was going to say, I saw your Instagram for the first time earlier today, and actually I really thought you own that little piece of space.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. That outside kind of like that,
Yeah.
bringing a little bit of joy to people's journey past your shop.
Yeah.
They might never come in, but every time they look, they turn and smile, and you know, that's a bit of marketing.
And when you're looking
That's
down
a bit
the
of bringing
street,
somebody
When
when
to
you're
Just
down
something
the street, you
small.
can see it, and all the other shops are flat, and ours is there.
yeah.
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 Makes people smile when they walk past, doesn't it?
does,
When it
yeah.
looks nice.
Yeah.
And, you know, we say that they might not come in, but if you don't have a good display, they'll never come in.
Or they never notice you.
They'll never notice you. I mean, I loved how when the sun hit your window at a certain point, it silhouettes your name on
Oh,
the
yeah.
back wall.
We didn't realise that was going to happen. I put
Yes, you did.
the name. No, I didn't. I put the name on the window, both sides, because I wanted that to show up. Because sometimes you miss it on the awning.
Yeah.
And then, unbeknownst to us, you know, in the shop when the sun's shining, it reflects on the wall.
Well done.
It looks very, very
well
cool.
Done. Yeah, I like it.
Good.
Completely unplanned, but looks really cool.
Yeah.
But putting the outside display out, which I think we all love doing, and you know, not in plastic, so we basket the plants and we put the levels in and all the rest of it, was one of the things we missed in COVID, you know, the fact that you had to suddenly blank the shop and you weren't allowed
I had my
outside.
front out.
Pardon
Did
me?
you?
I had my front out.
Did you? Were you allowed to?
Welcome to our garden centre.
Ah, right.
Great
Okay,
idea.
cool. But if you couldn't do that because you would have got shot down in flames.
Yeah.
'cause
No,
some
we followed the
people-
rules.
Yeah.
We always follow the rules.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but if you couldn't do that and you had to work a
Yeah.
blank, so that was one of the changes that COVID sort of enforced on us. But there were lots of others that, and lots of things we all learnt to reevaluate. And we did it, we achieved it. We got through a global pandemic and most lived to tell the tale. Now we're going into a situation, and let's face it, you know, read the papers and we're about to fall off a cliff and it's all doom and gloom. But have we learnt from dealing with a pandemic how to deal with a recession. Let's use the R word. And what are we going to do to keep our ducks in a row? Sorry, I had to get my ducks in. There's an article on the Florist Magazine
They
site
were
called...
relevant.
They were relevant.
Marketing.
It's not, I didn't just bring them in for the heck of it. But, you know, so what are you doing? How are you using your COVID pandemic experience to prepare for the next few months? I'm going to start with Gareth. Because you actually
I was
started.
going to say, well, it's a bit of a tricky juxtaposition because I didn't really have any experience that wasn't COVID. So, but I think, in all seriousness, I think the first thing it did to me is it actually gave me an advantage because I came into two teams in the shops who had to be faced with things that there was no new normal. You know, everything that they faced every day was different from what they'd grown up and what they'd learned. And so that's created a real good opportunity for me because change is constant in life. And you know, and the sign of success in any business is seeing what change is coming and then being as creative as you can to deliver for your customer within the context of that change.
We're trying to be ahead.
Well, being ahead of it, absolutely. So it is about listening to what the customer wants, you know, and we weren't as creative as UK. You know, that's a really clever idea, becoming a garden centre. But I think that really illustrates the way a successful leader or manager or operator or florist works, which is look for the opportunity. How can I deliver for my customer, you know, in a way that maybe we wouldn't have done before, but that my circumstances change. So I think for me, you know, one of the things I've tried really hard to do is to learn and listen because, you know, I have a team of, there's 14 people that work in my team and every one of them has got more experience than me in something, you know, and so trying to listen and learn from them, but also contribute from my experience to say, right, well, collectively, how do we make decisions that are right for now? And so that's really part of it. And being focused on, you know, the priorities of the business. You know, take care of the customer, number one priority. Take care of the business. You know, we have to make sure that we're in a place we can pay the wages every month. So making sure that everybody's part of that conversation and saying, this is how we do it. And if the money's not coming in the way it did before COVID, then what do we need to do differently to bring the money in a different way? And, you know, I used to work for a guy who taught me a great phrase, and he said, you know, that profit is the applause for a job well done. And I think that's a beautiful phrase. So we shouldn't be ashamed of or concerned about making money. We should give great value for money for our customers. That doesn't mean giving them cheap things, but delighting them with our efforts, and that ultimately leads to growth and
success.
It's
a wonderful product, isn't it, actually?
100%, much more interesting than pizzas, let me tell you.
Although I am still of a mind to run a competition, make a pizza out of flowers. I think,
we need to do that.
Yeah. I think I will ask you three to start the challenge because I think that would be.
Can I just say really quickly, I promised I wouldn't tell lots of pizza stories, but this one's quite good. So,
Look,
not the last
ducks,
royal wedding because that's a little bit controversial, but for the one before, there was a competition, and effectively somebody created a royal wedding pizza. So they created a picture of Will and Kate in a pizza. It had 4 million views on social media. People loved it, so there's probably a good idea in that, Kerry.
Yeah.
We had a commission recently. I don't know if this is slightly off-piste, but...
We can go off-piste.
A little bit, because
until my sign comes up.
Because I might be primed to do your pizza, because we were asked to do bacon and eggs.
Okay.
It was for a funeral, and we often get lots of personalities coming to funeral pieces. And they asked us to make bacon and eggs. So I had to think, so we used bulrushes for the sausages, and what did we use? Hypericum for the beans, and we got those disgusting chrysanthemums, you know, with the yellow centres and the whites. That was the egg. That was the obvious one. And interestingly, we found a rose that was veined, and we broke the petals off, and we stuck them onto a piece of cardboard to make the bacon.
Oh my goodness!
So you can be really creative.
Yeah.
And it was really fun doing it. Then we put a knife and fork on it.
But I think that is one of the, you know, I mean, there are loads of people selling flowers.
Yeah.
Zillions of them. Everybody can technically call themselves a florist because the dictionary definition of a florist is somebody who sells flowers, sells and arranges flowers. But an arrangement could be as much as a thing in a box, which nowadays can actually be made on a machine and twisted to create a hand-tied look. So, you know, AI has approached floristry to a certain extent. But, you know, the skill base and the USP we have is how we create and make things with flowers that nobody else can do. And I mean, what's been the most unusual funeral tribute you've ever made?
I had to make a dancing couple once, and I had to use some real hair on it and style her hair.
Oh.
So it was really big.
Where'd you get the hair from?
The hairdresser's next door.
That was handy.
Oh, so it wasn't the deceased
No,
hair? Oh, I
no,
thought you meant it
no.
was
I
the
thought that was a
deceased.
bit weird. That was a bit weird. But over the years, you make all sorts of things, and they sort of just merge into one. But yeah, that always stands out to me. Yes.
But I think it's fabulous that we can do that final goodbye in such a bespoke way.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't actually do hands-on, do you? Do you do much funeral work?
A reasonable amount. But again, it is just, it's about being respectful of the needs of the consumer, and they may ask for something that's really unusual, and you may kind of, and it's really easy to be a bit, what on earth is that for? But it's something that's so personal, and that you can actually do something that just brings back a real kind of piece of the person that's deceased for the people attending. That's a real honour, you know, and I know that, you know, actually perversely, when I've talked to, they are girls, I've only got a couple of boys, but most of the guys in the shop are ladies, and they take great pride and great satisfaction in doing the best job they can. They, in a weird way, they love doing funeral work, because it's the respect that's in it, and you know, and it is, it's humbling sometimes.
It is. And when you see the recipient, or you know, might be delivering straight to the funeral for some reason, and you see the look on the bereaved, you know, I mean, people who say, oh, I don't want flowers at a funeral. And I always say, we say on one of our websites, you know, please never have a funeral without any flowers, even if it's just a small token.
Carrie, I said to you earlier on, so my wife runs a neonatal ward, so unfortunately a consequence of that is that, you know, they don't all make it. And so we made a rule the minute I took over the business that there would never be a child's funeral within our reach that went without flowers. We would just contribute something, you know, and we've spoken to the local hospitals, and I think that's the sort of thing you see in our community. People do that, and I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. No, baby funerals are. Oh, how depressing.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Let's get on to jollier things. So, what did you learn from, I mean, if I say learn from COVID, everyone asks that question, but what did you do in COVID that you might use moving forward for when we are again challenged?
I think the biggest thing I got out of COVID was I had time to think. We had the opportunity to plan better. So I've tried to continue with that and give myself time. We still close at 4 o'clock. I mean, that was the most amazing thing, where we used to close at 6. But I go home, I have more of an evening, you know, that whole process of planning and thinking about what you need to do, how you need to address the next day, things like that. I think beforehand I was running too ragged, you know, you're here, there and everywhere. You're doing everything, taking on everything. Control is important still, and I think you need to remember that. So COVID taught me that, just to stop and think a little bit and plan more.
And I mean, thinking and getting ducks in a row is hugely important. It is the difference between survive and die, because if you're so busy running around like a headless chicken thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to make money, or I'm going to discount the price on that just to get sales in, or, you know, oh, I can't do the paperwork because I've got to get this order out, you know, and then you end up owing the VAT man more than you should because you didn't have time to do your paperwork.
There's so many elements to the business.
It's not just about the flowers, it's everything. It's everything. I'm sure we'll be coming back to that, but we were talking about people. And people, there was a lovely sentence, a lovely phrase that came out earlier, that florists are people selling to people who are giving to people. And then we got on to people buy from people, and another person said people talk to people. And basically we are a people business, whether it be the people that we're serving or the people that we are employing. And looking after your team is so important, but equally it's got to work for your business. So how do you, Kate, how do you deal with your team? You were saying earlier that you were work mum.
I am work mum, yes, yeah, I am work mum.
Are you tough mum or soft mum?
You'd have to ask them that. I think I'm really soft and lovely, but I think they'd say otherwise. I think it was really important that if you have staff, not everybody listening will have staff, but if you do, you've really got to look after them and you've got to respect them because they're working for you, but for them working for you means that you can then evolve and change and sell, so you need to look after them. I give them, we said earlier, I give them autonomy to do social media, Instagram, all things like that is really helpful for our business. That's buying. I've even started to let them learn about buying, not always do it, but have a little dabble and sort of oversee so they can see what's going on. I like them to be included in everything. They're great, my team. Do you know what? I don't expect them to work hard at all. I just know they will. So I think that's the difference, having a good team that you've said behind you, that you can rely on, and you know that if you're out the building, they'll carry on. Just look after them. Just little treats every now and again, you know, just go and buy them a load of coffees or, you know, get them some cakes, just little things, just look after them.
And what about bigger things? I mean, do you share with your team the financial aspect of the company? Do you?
Yes.
So you let them see the numbers and know what's going on. And
Yes, they do, because you touched on that. Because if they know what's going on in the business, if things are, because you know, it is tough, isn't it? There are weeks that you think, oh God, you know. But if they know that, then they can understand that, and I think that's really helpful for them to understand what's going on in the background. Otherwise, they're just coming into work, do their floristry, off they go. They don't care. But if you care enough about your business to talk to them about it, then they'll care about it too. Definitely. You just got to, for me,
And do you ever give, I mean, you talk about buying them coffees and things. Have you ever thought about bringing in incentive schemes?
We have had those in the past, yes, and us guys were talking about it earlier, and it is something really we should reinvestigate and bring up. I definitely think that is, I think so, I think we'll do it.
I think profit sharing, or because I know how you
Everybody's different. Yeah.
It's not all the things that we talk about are ideas that may or may not work in your business. I mean, we're not saying that you have to take what works for you, but there are lots of ways of incentivizing, whether it be, you know, you're at an age where you want to start thinking about selling the business and you're going to allow the staff to buy it out you had experience of that, didn't you? Or you're saying, right, we've got to generate 10k a month, but I will pay you 1%. So take these ideas and adapt them to suit your own shop or studio situation. Gareth, I mean, you come from a big corporate background where incentives and profit share, etc., were the norm. Have you looked at this? Are you looking at it?
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, I mentioned earlier, it was something I'd intended to do immediately. In fairness, it took me a little while to work out what was the right way to do it, what was fair, because actually, you know, there's lots of work that people can try really, really hard and work really hard, but it doesn't generate a result. So do you reward the effort or do you reward the result? And so I probably spent longer than I wanted to, but maybe kind of the first 8 months to really get to a point where I could put something together that I felt was fair and equitable. But I think, you know, my objective initially was to give every team member who works with us, and I say with, not for, you know, an ownership and an investment in the business. I'm really lucky because they've all got knowledge I don't have. I've said that for the second time tonight. And feeling like their efforts contribute to the overall success. You know, I think it's really important in any business, but I've certainly found in my floristry business that, you know, knowing what a good job looks like, here is what success looks like. You know, so when I asked that question of my teams, everybody gave me a very different answer. Some people were, well, the shop's got to look good. Some people were saying, well, I've got to be on time for work. Some people were saying, you know, I've got to make sure that every arrangement that I send out is delightful. Nobody actually mentioned making any money. And so, you know, so having that conversation and saying, hey, look, here are the 5 things that are really important. you know, and everybody understands what's important and everybody understands what they can do, and feeling like you're contributing to the success of wherever you work, whether you're the Saturday boy or girl, you know, or you're the manager of the shop, feeling like you're making a difference, I think is massively important for every team member in whatever job it is, and that's been really important to me. So we have put an incentive in place that kind of is on a number of tiers, and it rewards success across the piece, and it's really about business growth. So rewards things that are repeatable, and I think that's the key for me is, you know, is making sure that if people can do something, and if they keep on doing that, that helps the shop to be more successful, whether that's you get better visibility, whether it's the Instagram gets more followers, whether it's actually you get another wedding, whatever it might be. And it's just rewarding the things that make your business more successful. Whatever success looks like for you. For some people that's about money, for other people it's about, you know, the way the shop looks, or how many people they can employ, or actually if somebody leaves and is able to set up their own shop, that's success, because somebody's grown from your
I'm
input.
quite pleased about that sometimes, because you think, well, I've given them the
Not
the help.
too close by,
No,
but yeah.
but it's nice
Well,
to think.
I mean, talking about, we were saying that florists are actually your potentially best friend, because they're the only people that really understand what you're going through. I did actually use a far stronger word earlier, but I'm being polite on camera. But your local, your florist, and certainly Kate, you have a florist that is in the same town, and she absolutely adores you and credits you with teaching her everything she knows.
Why wouldn't she?
And
Well, I've actually had about 8 members of staff leave me and all set up their own businesses, and I think there's another 2 in Eastbourne, I think. So
does it
be
worry
proud.
you?
It's commendable.
No, not at all. No, I'm quite proud of them. They're my children.
Yes, it's
we all we do things differently. We're complementing each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that, I mean, that goes back to something we talked about earlier. It's about finding your niche. It's knowing who you want to serve, who you can serve, rather than trying to be a square peg in a round.
Build your brand.
Yeah,
Yes.
build your brand.
Yeah.
And that also goes back to be the brand somebody wants to work for.
Yeah.
Be the shop that somebody wants to come to work for, not just they come to you because, you know, you pay them or it was available or it's up the road. So you being the best brand you can be can pay dividends in all sorts of ways. It's because you started out as a junior. 14 years later, you bought it.
Yes. And it was one of the florists that I actually wrote to, because I selected people I fancied, like the look of, like the work they produced. And Marcia gave me such an opportunity, and that's something I was thinking about saying when you guys were talking. You know, in our field, we've got to remember that we're all dealing with creatives, and they have so many different aspirations and have so many different wants. And as you mentioned, they didn't all say money. You know, that wasn't success for them. But to create an environment for somebody to be really happy in. I mean, literally came into Pourri, thought I was going to be there for a year or two, and never left. Ended up buying the company. You know, so I wanted to follow on from that, and that was really my ethos. You know, you create this wonderful environment for creatives. They produce this wonderful work. Happy boss, happy customer, you know, and they're having a lovely time, you know, and it's nice to be able to allow them to be creative, and you learn. I learned so much. Yeah. And what we can't all say that's right and that's wrong, that's in good taste, that's in poor taste, because I have a selection of bouquets out every day, and the 2 that I would never take home sell first. And then it's all down to, you know, you producing something.
Oh, it makes me, I mean, I get quite cross when I see florists criticising their customers, and I think, oh, please don't do that, because they are actually paying everything.
Then learn, listen.
But also, I hate it when florists say, oh, I don't like it, I couldn't possibly sell that, or, you know, whatever. And I was talking to somebody yesterday about carnations, and Neil Strain in Belgravia always has carnations in the shop. Admittedly, very beautiful ones.
There are a few.
But there are lots of beautiful carnations. So they just said, oh,
at a good price point as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
you know, price matters, but he never ever disses it just because it's a carnation. And anyway, you call them dianthus.
I ran a workshop. I ran a workshop once about this whole thing, because there are the likes and dislikes in floristry, you know, snobbery in floristry. And I ran a dinner party workshop about all these flowers that everyone hates, that you can make look beautiful, that are really serviceable, because actually they all last a long time, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Just to take the emphasis off the things that are not liked, and you can make them look great.
But then also an awful lot of things that are coming back into fashion. It's like bloom chrysanthemums.
Gypsophila.
Gypsophila,
I've
I'm
done
sorry.
so much
It's
this year.
It's really on trend. Cymbidium orchids, the millennials love them. I mean, you know, I'm not a great Cymbidium fan, but if you show it to young people, they adore them.
Tropicals.
Sorry, I mean, I try
You're so
not...
guarded with your opinions, Carrie. Honestly,
Yes,
just tell us what you
honestly.
think.
Yes.
I think it's more, I don't mind, I find a hanging heliconia quite art formish, but I don't like strelitzia, sorry. I just...
They
there's
last
something
well
a
in
bit-
contracts. don't they?
Yes, I know, that's it.
I even know what that one is. Does that? I feel quite good. I know what that is.
Birds of paradise.
I know. I know. I said, that's the one I do know.
It's on your shirt. Oh, no, it's
Okay,
a parrot.
but stop it. Okay, I mean, talking about flowers and knowing what to buy, a viewer in Scotland has asked, how do you keep your nerve when it comes to pricing? And basically, this person is surrounded by people charging less, and they're concerned that customers will think they're being ripped off when actually they are simply trying to put food on the table and pay the overhead. So how do you stand firm when it comes to pricing, and what dictates your pricing?
For me, it's these. Beg your pardon. Sorry, after you.
Well, I was going to say I'm driven by the market price.
Yes.
But also,
yeah.
I shop around a lot.
Yeah.
And
what looks beautiful
what looks beautiful
for the money?
For the money.
Yeah.
You've got to think about the season and where you're in. You know, people in the spring want lots of fresh colours, want something lively. Summertime, just the gorgeous ranges of blues and lilacs and all the pinks and things. And people always come back to bright colours. So you've got to have a very nice selection to be able to cover everything.
Yeah.
But then work in the seasons. You know, when you come into the winter, think about more of the foliage and those type of things. And
know your worth as well. Know that.
And so my pricing is sort of, I balance things on a almost daily basis, every time I go to market, which is pretty much every day. So I balance the prices every day, and things that are pricey that might be a really good something in the shop that's going to attract somebody that would be, you know, oodles of money. You know, I might reduce a little bit to sell it or to have it as a USP, to something unique.
Okay. But do you say, I must have gerbera and roses and solly, and I mean, do you say I must have all those flowers, or do you go to market and say, what's the price? That's nice, because you go to a wholesaler where everything is priced, so you can instantly see what it's costing.
I think I'm driven by what's on our selection for that particular season, and also you have to have your basics. You have to have a good range of whites. You have to have a good range of pinks, things like that, things that are popular. We get asked to do a lot of whites, so at the moment that's something we need to buy in a lot. So I always make sure there's a nice selection, and again I just look for the seasonal things, but then also driven by price. A couple of weeks ago the Astrante went up through the roof, so I didn't buy that, now it's come back down again. Certain things we sort of maintain pretty much all the time. We're always going to have roses, always going to have lisianthus, that type of stock product, which is important. Then I think about the weather. If it's warm, like I haven't bought stock recently because I came out off the weekend and the stuff I bought Saturday, that completely gone. So I thought, right, no more stock, no more, you know, perishables, as I call it, soft things.
Again, it's knowledge, isn't it? Learn. Learn.
Yeah.
Ask your fellow florists. Ask the trade club. You know.
And think about it. Think about how you would feel like if you received a bunch of flowers. You want something cosy and warm in the winter, perhaps something more lively in the spring.
Yeah.
Something like that.
How do you do your buying?
Very similar. We talked about this earlier, and we've got very similar sort of ethos on that. I like to have interesting things in the shop. Again, you take a little less markup on something that you're still going to make a good margin on. You know, if you sell something for £10 and you've paid £5 for it, you've made £5. You sell a rose at £4 and it's all about making good money from what you're selling. It's not about. You're right. You don't have a list to buy from, do you? You just buy. Like a chef. What would a chef do? They go to market and they buy what's in season, what looks good, and what the customer wants. So that's in essence what we're doing, isn't it?
And they're trying to promote that at the moment. They're all talking about buying season. You'll get a cheaper price because we're looking at the cost of living, things like that. So that's what we're doing, really. We're trying to offer the best value for the price people want to pay.
Yeah, we have dropped a few prices as well.
Yeah, we have been sensitive
we
to
haven't
that.
Reduced, but we've done a cheaper range. I don't know about you two.
I've done that too.
And that was on the back of a member of staff as well. One day she said, I think we should have gifts under £25. Like, okay, yeah, fine.
Well, it's interesting.
Still beautiful.
I ran into somebody at the market in COVID and they said, how are you doing? And I said, oh, fine, it's doing really well. Online's great. And I said, how are you doing? He said, oh, I'm really struggling. I said, well, what have you got online? And he's a big florist, big event florist, and he's set up an online because of COVID, and his minimum products were like £80, £100. So I said, but I said, my minimum products, my cheapest product rather, is 15, because I was thinking, well, then people are going to buy something every week, every 2 weeks, because they're at home. They need to cheer themselves up.
As long as you haven't lost on it. So
No. Well, it kind of was a lost leader, but
they're very good. I like lost leaders.
It worked well for the time. So that first 3 months.
I was going to say, you've got to tell the viewers about your peonies, because I saw the video.
Brilliant.
It was brilliant.
Yes. Which part of it?
Well, just how many
the fact that
gosh,
you were on the you got a good price.
We got a good price. Beautiful peony. I can't remember the variety. Sarah Bernard. It was a good price. It was 49p, 48p, and we've done it in the past actually. And we just said, right, we'll just put a quick post up. Me holding the peonies, quick chit chat, and say half a dozen peonies, £10 free delivery in Eastbourne only. 10 minutes, we sold about 80 peonies. Phone didn't stop ringing. Social media was going, this was messaging, and I was like, my God, how many peonies are left? And they went. And it was a really good marketing strategy as well, because we reached out to people, I hate that word reached out, but we did reach out to people that haven't used us in the past.
It's all right, Lo, this is
sorry.
No, don't you get the emails and say, I'm just reaching out to you, think,
oh, yes, yeah. Okay. Yeah. But it was brilliant. It was good fun as well. Yeah, it was quite exciting.
That's a good thing.
But I think it's what marketing do you do?
So Instagram's really important and popular, and I think so we've got a number of things that we've done, but and certainly we are working on how we can try and do some more direct marketing to our existing customers. But both of the shops have been established for 15 years or more under different ownership. And so we've got a base of customers who are relatively regular. But what we find with Instagram is we're reaching out to a much younger audience, and they're really receptive. And exactly that point, actually putting something in that space in that moment, and it's exactly what you're talking about.
It's instant as well. The reply is instant.
And you have to remember, it's the new way that they're looking.
Absolutely. So it's just what is your shop window?
For them, isn't it?
And I think what certainly we've learned is I inherited a website that was full of a relay company's product, and that wasn't what I wanted to promote for our business. So we removed all of that product and we put our own product on there. And what we find is actually when people are starting to look for help, information, whatever it may be, then they can use that as our shop window, and that has proved to be really successful. An interesting stat that I've just asked somebody to help me with kind of understanding what's going on with the website. 50% of the people who visit my website actually then phone the shop. And you think of it as we just spent ages earlier on talking about your shop window. Actually that's where people come to look and to buy. And when somebody wants to go online, people want to, you used it earlier, people want to buy from people. I am in Witney. I want to buy from the shop in Witney. People care about shopping local now. Yeah. It's become a much bigger thing, certainly since COVID.
Isn't it?
And so I think being accessible, being readily available, that's really important. And we've picked up lots of customers that way. I mean, I was really impressed what you were talking about earlier about, knowing your customers by name, and that's something we've made really important, is engage with customers. So marketing is really about trust and word of mouth. We've spent a bit of money online, but actually the truth is doing the job you do really well is the best marketing.
Direct marketing is really important.
Yeah.
I mean, how nice does it feel when you walk into a shop and they go, hello, Gareth.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's me.
Yeah.
It's me.
We all want to be important.
I'm back again.
Yeah.
I mean, so we've had a question from Eileen, who is just starting out. Would you say that there was a different type of marketing if you're working from home or just starting, or is it the same classic rules apply to everything, that you've got to be out there and connecting? I mean, is there any difference between what you do as a shop and what you do as a studio, or...
Well, you're probably
Yeah.
best at that
Well,
because you've been in 2 different sectors. Business
I sort of
is business,
started like
isn't
that,
it?
so I sort of
Yeah.
flogged it really in the beginning.
Flogged it.
Because
Do
you
all
didn't
the
know
hours.
you didn't know where you were going to end up.
Put the effort
so you
in.
I sort of did everything and anything and just put it out there.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things, so we did a couple of things very specifically. So we changed the name of the shop. So the shop was named after, both of the shops
brave.
were named after the previous owner. My name isn't Jason, so we weren't, we chose a very original name. We are the Flower Shop. And so what we wanted to do was try and put ourselves out there. So we did 2 things very clearly. One was we kind of tried to put ourselves in the way of goodwill. So what do I mean by that? For example, so National Nurses Day, I have an affinity to working with the NHS, my wife's employer. We donated 100 bunches of flowers to the local hospital, which they gave to all of the nurses that were working on that day. We made up it was a really nice little gift wrap. We'd probably have sold it for £10-15, and we did 100 of those, which we donated, but all of them were lovely, well presented. We had a business card on all of them. The number of emails we got that just said, thank you for that random act of kindness.
Yeah.
But that's 100 families and 100 extended families that saw that the flower shop care about the people in their community. Now, it costs some money, but I felt that was much more impactful because it was for the people who live and operate and are doing a good service for the people who live and operate around us.
Can I go on from there?
Yeah, please.
Just recently this week, because I support all local, and I supported some function, and the lady came in and she bought £100 worth of gift vouchers. Because she said, you supported the St Paul's event that went on. She said, and I had a choice of who I came to, so I came to you. So it works.
Yeah,
It does work. I mean, I know that a lot of florists sort of say, I'm being asked to donate to this and I'm being asked to donate to that. And yes, it can seem a bit, unending as to who's going to keep coming. But it can pay back as well. And the actual cost, especially if you give it in kind, in flowers, is much cheaper than giving cash. You can give £50 worth of flowers at wholesale price. Looks huge. £50 in a note isn't quite so exciting.
So, I did have a secondary thing, if you don't mind if I follow up on that
Okay, but
question.
I have had my 15 minutes.
Okay, I will be very quick. The other thing in terms of partnerships is in marketing reach. So we're very lucky. We have the Ivy as one of our customers in Oxford. So we did a joint promotion with them for Mother's Day and for Valentine's, where they provided part of the prize, we provided part of the prize.
No, I've
but
done
we
that.
had the reach of their Instagram and their Facebook as well as ours.
Yeah.
So we got about 1,000 followers on Instagram. That message went to 4,000 people. So the yin and the yang of that
I
is
do it on
really
all peak
effective.
periods.
Yeah.
Always do Mother's Day, Valentine's, Christmas.
So-
Always. And then choose a local somebody that's good and is really high online.
Yeah.
So collaboration, but I mean,
Yeah.
collaboration is so cool, and you just stretch your, I'm collaborating tonight with Floristry Trade Club. They're collaborating with me. We're collaborating. We get so much out of it. Wait till you see all the articles that I'll be writing as a result of, I've got my shop, how I make it, the business. I mean, guys, you're booked out for the next month. We can't ignore the bad news. What threats do you see for florists over the coming months? And are you worried about the competition? Are you panicking? Are you sort of thinking, oh my God, the end is nigh?
No, not panicking. I think that would be detrimental. I think you've just got to, I think as creatives anyway, it's inbuilt in us to survive. And, you have to look for another form of income, another way. And I've been really impressed with all my friends, creative friends over COVID. They found us something else, And that's the way you've got to look at it. You've got to turn that negativity into a positivity and just think clearly and think, how am I going to get over this?
Yeah, don't be too scared.
No.
Don't panic.
Don't panic.
And don't overreact either. Don't think, oh my gosh, this is awful. I'm going to shut the shop, or I'm going to slash all my staff.
No.
Because you've been through recessions.
Two, I think.
Yeah.
Forget I'm so old.
Given I'm older than you, dear, I'm not. We worked out that I was the oldest on the panel, but that's all right. We're going reverse aging now.
But it is easy to panic, you know. You see prices going up, you see petrol going up, you see this going up and everything going up. But the whole world, everything is going up.
Everyone's in the same.
Consumers know that prices are going up, and if you have to put your prices up, you put your prices up. But as we've said before, also have a lower price point, something that is beautiful and is lovely and people want to buy. You can't be scared of competition either. We've said you've got to keep your eye on the competition, see what they're doing, but
because they sometimes have good ideas.
They do, and you pinch them, don't you?
Do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always look, I mean, you know, I know everyone sort of gets upset about Bloom and Wild and Freddy's, but my advice to every florist is go on the Bloom and Wild website and see how they're doing it and learn from it. You know, I mean, I know that database marketing is a sort of nightmare, never mind the legalities of GDPR, but the whole sort of getting it loaded into the system and having it then merged into MailChimp and all that stuff, which I do all the time. So I do know how hard it is. But it's worth it, because keeping in contact with the customers that you have is far more beneficial and far cheaper than trying to go out and find new ones. And you know, my husband, bless him, he's quite generous with flowers, and he has bought flowers from every single florist shop in our area, and not one of them has taken his details, which means that every 4 years they might get his business, but if somebody was clever and kept in touch with them, they'd get his business every year, which to me makes more sense. But you know, I know how hard it is, but you've got a nifty system that you now make your staff enter the orders into the computer as they come in.
I mean, it's hard work for me as well, because to remember to do something different, and because of the headsets, we've got hands-free, so I can type. And the system offers us a reminder service. So when Chris has placed his flowers, you see, and if I've ticked the reminder, then in a year's time he'll get a reminder 2 weeks and then 2 days before. So all these things are really relevant and they really help, because how many times have we all received calls and they say, "Oh, I've forgotten, it's today."
Yeah.
How many? Let's face it. How many same-day orders do we get?
Lots.
That tells you how rubbish, particularly men, are at remembering those occasions.
I mean,
It tells you everything you need to know.
My mum had her shop. She opened her shop in 1951, and she had a card index system. And month by month, she put in the people who'd ordered flowers, and she forward filed it.
Wow.
And you know, even if you don't want to go near a computer, it's old-fashioned, but
Same thing.
you know, it's an index card system. Month by month, you just pop in who ordered. Just a quick note: Fred Bloggs ordered flowers for Mary.
Yeah.
It's just, and you can ring, and it's like, you know, on wedding anniversaries. So, you know, a wedding that you've done, put up a post saying, "Congratulations to our brides on their first anniversary." I mean, you might want to check that they're still married, but
Still alive.
yes, yeah, no. I mean, you do have to think about it a bit, but it is relationship marketing and people buying from people.
Can I just say one more thing about marketing very quickly?
You can.
As
got
we're
a
smaller
plan.
businesses, I've often run off the back of big businesses, and everyone knows dine in for £10, dine in. So we used to get lots of broken roses and bits and pieces, and I had all these old little terracotta pots. So we put a rose in the terracotta pot, stuffed a bit of moss round or something else, and we called it Dine in Flowers for £5. So people understood the notion, understood it was cheap or a promotion, and they all sold, because they bought the dinner for £10, bought the flowers for £5, and they had a homemade romantic dinner, and they worked really, really well, and we used up the odds and sods.
I mean, they call it the lipstick index, where that in times of, you know, financial difficulty, people may lower their spend, but they don't stop it. And I think it is fair to say, and one of the biggest things I'd like to say is that not everyone is skint in the world. Not everyone is poor. They haven't all, you know, suddenly lost all their money. There is still money in the economy. And it's about making sure that you get it, but if they want a little gesture, your £15 in COVID could convert into a, you know...
Lifelong customer.
Yes,
Yeah.
and when they want to spend 150 quid on the birthday gift, they're going to remember you.
Yeah.
It's you know, and like your member of staff suggesting a £25, which you thought...
Initially,
But,
yes. Yeah.
You know,
But it's great. It's lovely.
and
Because there's lots of those £25-pounders.
Yes, you get the students, you get the
Yeah.
somebody who's on a tight pension and wants to send
Yeah.
something to their daughter. Or, yeah, it's been really good. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
is Sarah watching tonight?
I don't know. I hope so.
Well, if
So
Sarah
I'll
is
be-
watching
I'll
tonight...
be questioning her tomorrow.
Yes. So how did I do? Are you watching? Talking of watching, we are nearly at the wind-up stage, and I have to say that, you know, we have talked because, I mean, we had to do sound checks and things, but we have talked for England. We have just covered off so many things, and, you know, I think we'll have to get back together again in a couple of months and see, okay, did you take Gareth's idea and did you take Dom's, and Kate, what
And
are
how did
you
it work?
doing?
Yeah.
And how did it work? Yeah.
And how's it work? Because talking with your fellow florists is so important. As I say, they have the understanding that nobody else will. They get what you're going through. They know what is scary and what isn't, and they can help. As have you. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
Thank
For
you. Thank you
everything.
for
Thank
you.
asking us.
Well, for everything you've done today, for everything you're going to do in the future.
All right.
Oh, we're in.
Yeah,
That's it.
sorry. You're in my grip now. You know, you are on the team, which is marvellous. Gareth, I hope that your first foray into the world of floristry has been fun.
It's been absolutely amazing. I mean, as I say, you asked me the question, why on earth would I choose to come into floristry with so little knowledge? And the answer is because it is a fantastic profession. There are some really, really, I can't believe how gifted many of the people are that I've met in this industry. And there is so much scope for bringing joy to people and having a very successful business in doing so. You know, I repeat, it's a great space to be working in. And I've made some really, really good friends and contacts from the business. So thank you for the invite.
Yeah, my pleasure. Kate, anything to say at the end? I mean, you've already done 30 years in Grand Flowers.
I know.
mean, maybe not another 30
No,
years,
well,
but looking forward? Looking forward to the future.
I actually really love what I do. I really, really love it. And I do have this, I said to one of the team earlier over there that when something feels right, I get all these like goosebumps and I love that feeling. Just, you know, and I get a little buzz when you're talking to somebody and you're interacting. I love floristry. I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't. I wouldn't want to. I love it.
I think it's on one of my bios, I have sap in her veins.
Yes, I've read that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sap in
Yeah.
her veins and something else in her
Yeah,
blood. Or
and probably
something.
green fingers.
Yes,
Yeah.
but still.
Definitely.
Dominic, you've relocated, so you've bought this new shop.
Yeah, and it's boosted me actually. It's created another interest. You know, it's really lovely, a new area, lovely area, and I'm really enjoying it. And I turn the corner every morning. I think, oh, I'm so lucky, you know. And then lucky enough, I turn the key in the door and I walk in. There's this beautiful shop, you know. It's so invigorating, and I follow on for you guys. I couldn't really say it any better. You know, what a lovely product. We have such a diverse amount of customers, and every day is different. Every day throws up a different challenge, whether it's in the news or whether it's on the high street or, you know, just somebody walking into the shop. It's a joy, and we meet all sorts of people. And I've worked in venues and seen places I never would have been into. You know, like the livery clubs and quite closed doors places, you know, that's been amazing. And I've seen the most wonderful places and met interesting people and famous people.
And I think, as Gareth says, you know, we are not, you know, the flower, we were talking about Morrison's and, you know, in the supermarkets, our sector, the flower industry per se, has just grown from when I started. It is now enormous. And whilst the share by independent florists may be smaller, the actual size is bigger. And there is absolutely no reason why it shouldn't keep going. I really hope that what we've talked about tonight has helped you and given you some ideas to work with. We'd love to hear your feedback as to how we did, because you can see us, we can't see you. We hope you've enjoyed it. On behalf of the Floristry Trade Club and Florist Magazine, thank you for watching. To our panellists, thank you so much for everything you've done. And we look forward to seeing you again soon at our next Flower Lounge Live. Take care and have a brilliant evening. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, good night.